Cool. In an interview with Game Informer from 2010, producer Ryutaro Ichimura has a sit down and explains that Dragon Quest IX took inspiration from some modern games, Oblivion, The Elder Scrolls, and Diablo. In an interview with Game Informer, Dragon Quest IX producer Ryutaro Ichimura revealed that he doesn't consider the game a JRPG at all, and it has some rather surprising influences. We have no recognition that Dragon Quest IX is a part of the so-called JRPG genre, unless you mean all the RPGs created in Japan are JRPGs. That's a statement worth unpacking alone. The differences from past, more traditional Dragon Quest games include a focus on multiplayer, a quest system, the ability to view armor and weapons on your characters after equipping them. The way these elements come together reminded me of an MMO, so I asked Ichimura if he has looked at MMOs while designing Dragon Quest IX. That wasn't the genre Square had in mind either, though. He explained, the quest system was inspired by the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, which I played many times. And I would like to reference Diablo as the title, which inspired our thinking about how we can maintain players' motivations. So I think the first question I think of is, do you see influences, clear, visible influences of Oblivion or Diablo in Dragon Quest IX?
Definitely Diablo, and I think it's in the worst possible ways. Um, as a guy who has been forced to do a bunch of grottos, it literally made me stop playing this game. That is complete. I think that's utter nonsense. The Elder Scrolls 4, I haven't played Elder Scrolls 4. I've played Skyrim and I played Morrowind more. But I'm assuming there's a link there. Yeah, maybe. Seems a little lazy if you're gonna say that he took inspiration from the quest system, because the quest system is very lazy. It's it's the little fetch quests, and yes, theoretically they flesh out the world, which is what all the I was on RPG Reddit, so I apologize. There's some terminologies come out that I kind of earn my ire, but yes, mini quests can flesh out the world. You can find out that a village really likes fish, if that helps you understand the lore of the world. But no, I don't. I if that's the inspiration, I think they had a very half-assed job of trying to make Elder Scrolls and Dragon Quest. What about you?
I have played Oblivion.
Okay.
I'm not that big into the Diablos. I got like a world into Diablo too, and I'm not a PC gamer, so the only connection I think I could make with the quest system is that the quest system is annoying and has tangible benefits. So oftentimes, we'll get into the class systems later, but in order to further advance your classes, you need to complete some ridiculous fetch quests. Like, I wanted to get a couple of them. I didn't want to get all of them because they were all so annoying. There's one where it's like defeat metal slimes with your wand with a mage, but without using magic. You have to like physically attack them with like the, and it's like, what? Your Your wand can do 1 damage on a metal slime if it hits. And it's like I have to spend time doing this in order to get this thing. Or even if you just the sage, right? The sage is like a class that basically most players will need, and you get it towards the end of the game. And it's like take down 5 great trolls with frizz,
Yeah.
one of the weakest spells.
Yeah.
It's like why am I doing like why is this the condition? There's no logic here. It's just like it is just a fetch quest. And I guess I mean it's been years since I've played Oblivion, so I feel like the quest system, the quests in Oblivion are probably more substantive. I agree that I think it's not fleshed out. in a way that is like meaningful as far as narrative, but as far as your character advancement goes, it's incredibly beneficial and almost mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm conflicted on that. As far as the multiplayer goes, I mean, it's like Diablo. I guess I could see how like players could jump into your world and you could play, whoever's campaign together. So that makes sense. And then as far as like seeing your character's armor and stuff, yeah, but I mean that's a joke in and of itself,
I like. I'm a little bit. This guy. I don't know his history. This producer revealed he doesn't consider the game a JRPG at all. We have
That's a question.
we have no recognition that Dragon Quest IX is part of the so-called JRPG genre. He says we. I think that might be a mistranslation because I'm curious if I asked Hori about this, if he would have the same response. Um, usually when we were doing these before, especially Dragon Quest, we're usually talking about a game that came out in like the early to mid 90s or even earlier than that. So RPGs hadn't really taken the foothold, post Final Fantasy VII. We have this is one of the later RPGs we've ever done, maybe even the latest. I can't remember all of them. Etrian Odyssey is probably somewhere, but at this point, JRPGs have been pretty solidified. Now, yes, focus on multiplayer is a little bit weird for a JRPG, but it's not the first game to do that. A quest system, not the first game to do that. Not the first JRPG to do that. The ability to view armor and weapons on your characters after equipping them is technically a more Western style, but that almost undermines the whole point of JRPGs from the beginning. Because if you were to say that because they do more Western oriented things in it, Dragon Quest is literally based on a Western RPG. So I guess really what he's saying is he doesn't understand the JRPG term. And maybe JRPG isn't a term that makes sense. And I can agree with that idea. But I certainly, if people looked at this game and you asked, is this a JRPG or a Western RPG? I think everyone would very clearly say JRPG.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate that the term has become conflated with turn-based RPG because I don't think he would say it's not a turn-based RPG. I think that's like a brain dead statement. If you like that, first off, that would just be unfactual.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is probably a criticism of the concept of JRPG.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's also Akira Toriyama's artwork. Just throwing that out.
So if it's his artwork and he's from Japan, that makes it Japanese. I don't know.
It certainly skews it that way. I mean,
I guess. Yeah, well, technically, the term anime, this is a debate too, like what makes something anime. But apparently, if it's like a Japanese style animation, then it is considered anime.
yeah.
So I guess this is like a similar debate or argument.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't care to get into the semantics of it,
yeah.
but this is what the discourse is.